Hi, welcome to my channel, The Wandering Kilt. Today's destination is Lesmahagow, a small town in Lanarkshire known locally as the Gow. So why is it called Lesmahagow? As it's hardly a Scottish sounding name. It would appear it dates back to 500 AD and involves a proper Welsh monk called St Machatus. The Les part meaning church, so Lesmahagow. Ring any bells? It could be true, but we'll never know for sure. The earliest building nearby that's documented is a Tyronnesian priory linked to Kelso Abbey. Easy for me to say. This one was built in 1144, and the nearby land was gifted to the abbey and became fruit orchards that generated a great income for the monks. The abbey didn't survive the Reformation and is now in ruins next to the old parish church. The abbey was destroyed along with so many others after the dissolution of the abbeys during Henry VIII's reign. He of the six wives fame, or was that infamy? Unable to extract a divorce from the Pope from his first wife, who was the wife of his dead brother, he, as head of the Church in England, did not accept the Pope's authority, and Britain became Protestant. Angry at the Church of Rome's power and wealth, he destroyed numerous abbeys and priories all over Britain and confiscated their vast wealth and, more importantly, their land. By the end of the 1500s, Lesmahagow was already a borough, able to hold fairs and markets. Its position on the main road to Carlisle didn't hinder its growth either. It's hard to mention Scottish history without mentioning the Covenanters. That is the people who signed a covenant stating that the Scots did not recognise King Charles as the head of the Church of Scotland. So what, you might say? Well, back in the 1600s, if you didn't agree with the monarch, you were committing treason and could, well actually more likely would, be executed. In Scotland, this time is referred to as the killing time. David Steele, a poor hill farmer, worked the Nether Skelhill farm just over 2 miles from Lesmahagow itself. David had fought the government forces at the Battle of Bothwell Bridge, just a couple of miles away, and unable to return home, he hid in nearby caves and gullies. Pursued by Lieutenant Crichton and his dragoons, he didn't have much chance of escaping because they were on horseback and he was on foot. So he realised that the jig was up, and armed with a single-shot musket, he agreed to surrender on the promise of a fair trial in Edinburgh. Although after handing over his firearm, his hands were bound and he was carried back to his farm and shot in front of his wife and child. The date, December the 20th, 1686. His grave is marked by a tablet stone at the Old Kirk graveyard. The 1700s brought hand weaving to the area, which was a popular and very profitable pastime until the large mills became dominant. By the end of the 1500s, Lesmahagow was already a borough able to hold fairs and markets. The 1800s brought a post office to the town, followed by a gasworks in 1845, aided by the plentiful supply of coal, ironstone and in particular cannel coal. Some lead mines were worked nearby too, but not to any great extent. All was going great, plenty of jobs and a thriving town, what could go wrong? Well, as part of Dr. Beeching's review of the railways, the passenger line closed for good in 1965. Deep mine coal was also on a terminal climb, replaced by large-scale open cast mining. Because the coal lies so close to the surface in places, it was inevitable. So has anyone famous lived here? Well, if you include infamous, yes, the atomic spy. Born on the 25th of July 1913, John Cairncross worked as an intelligence officer in the British Civil Service during the Second World War. He was tasked with helping the Soviet Union defeat the Nazis. Unfortunately, he forgot after the war that the Soviet Union was not actually on their side anymore. He was recruited by the forerunner of the KGB, which was the MGB, not to be confused with the car, and became one of the notorious Cambridge cell of spies comprising Guy Burgess, Kim Philby, Donald MacLean and Anthony Blunt, most of whom worked for MI5 and MI6. So rather than Cairncross, it was more likely double cross. He passed over 5,000 sensitive documents to the Reds, but he was never charged, strangely. So anyone else? Well, you did have a true Scot with Jim Holton, a professional footballer who played for numerous teams including Manchester United, Coventry City, Sunderland and of course the national team in the 1974 World Cup. A tournament that we came away with our heads held high, losing out on goal difference, I believe. Born on the 11th of April 1951, a proper hard man, his football style coined the Man United chant, 6'2", eyes of blue, big Jim Holton's after you. Strangely, as he had brown eyes and wasn't quite 6'2". But I guess a song is a song. Sadly, his career was blighted not just by injury but at least 2 broken legs. He was instrumental in Scotland qualifying in 1973 for Scotland's first World Cup since 1958. Sadly, he died aged 42 of a heart attack, a player largely forgotten now, sadly. Anyone else of note? Well, Isabel Burns, who was the younger sister of our national bard Robert, lived here with her 9 children. She subsequently set up a girls' school nearby. And one for my Canadian friends. Alexander Muir, born 1830, composed at one time the national anthem of Canada, the Maple Leaf Forever. Or you could have David Mackay, who was awarded the highest honour of the Victoria Cross for valour in Battle of Lucknow, India, 1857. Sadly buried in a pauper's grave in Lesmahagow now. Strange as you consider a VC must be worth at least £1 million in today's market. And of course you've got Davin DL, who invented one of the earliest pedal bicycles in the world. Built around 1846 or just after. It is now the oldest known surviving bicycle, which is on display at the Transport Museum in Glasgow, another place worth a visit. So to the town itself, it's just a wee mining town like so many others that you would just drive through and think nothing of note ever happened. And that's exactly what I was doing, driving through, and I just had to stop and film it. Well, was it worthwhile? You tell me. I think it has a charm and a hidden history that hopefully you're aware of now. Is it worth a visit? Well, maybe, if your ancestors or parents are from here. But I didn't even manage to get a coffee. Boo. Although I was time poor, I think it's called. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. Let's just get on with it. Well, that was Lesmahagow. While it's not Glasgow or Stirling or a beautiful harbour like Crail, it's still important to the fabric of Scotland. Its links to the abbeys and the Covenanters, to William Wallace and even the Bonnie Prince himself meant that history didn't bypass an insignificant town like Lesmahagow. So if you enjoy these films, or there's somewhere you just bursting for me to film, drop me a comment below and I'll see if I can be bothered. Only kidding. If it's somewhere interesting, I'll see what I can do. As I look at the big clock on the wall, I see that once again time is beating us. So until the next time, bye for now.